I take Maz's point, and it's a good one, that it takes time to really report this through. Like, there are some really satanic sounding messages in these Epstein files, and if you just take the verbatim what's said and you put it out there, it's jaw dropping. But also we have to understand the context of what is being talked about here. There's mention of torturing people, burying people. Like there are so many stories that we need to figure out, like, what is this actually about? But I also think, as I'm looking through these, this is the email communications that we're looking at. And some of them are photos and some of them are recordings. But this is just like a fraction of the communication or activity that these people were involved with. We're just seeing what was, stupidly put into their emails. And, Trump, of course, is taking the posture. He's just lying his way through it and implying that everything has vindicated him. But it's like, I also just keep thinking, all of these powerful people, you're talking about these leaders from the Emirates, from Israel, multiple presidents of the United States, not just like mentioned in passing, but with a deep multi-year relationship with this guy. I mean, it's extraordinary to see this. And then, even if you just take like Noam Chomsky as an example, the initial stuff about Chomsky was lower level stuff, that he had been in touch with Epstein and that they had something going. And now it's like Chomsky writing him, "Oh, can we stay again in this beautiful apartment that you had?" And Epstein saying, "Yeah, I'll put some nosh in the refrigerator." Like, what is Chomsky doing running around with this guy? Like it's. I mean, I think I'm just the everyday person here saying this, because I'm not covering this. This isn't my like arena right now. But it's like, I don't think I've ever seen something like this. And I mean, in some cases, you understand, okay, these people on a public level, on a policy level, they're horrible degenerates. They believe in genocidal warfare. They believe that they can murder anyone they want across the planet. Like, so, the idea that Bill Clinton is a morally compromised person or Donald Trump is a morally compromised person, that's a given, because we see it out in public anyway. So there's a consistency between their private immorality and their public immorality and war crimes. But it just, I mean, the extent of it is extraordinary that all of these people are coming to this guy, and he's at the center of all these activities. Clearly, and you and Maz have done more than anyone else on this story, clearly there are serious connections to Israel that need to be pursued. But it's not just Israel. The tentacles were everywhere.
Yeah. And he was moving serious money, which is how you get, the two ways you get people, or the three ways you get people to, be in your social circle at that level of Manhattan, is, power. So he's surrounded by powerful figures, like you said, presidents, CIA directors, prime ministers, you name it, celebrities. He's got celebrities coming in and out, and money. And it's rare that a kind of socialite has all of those. And so a lot of people talk about money. He was doling out, hundreds of millions of dollars to scientific research, to universities, to, through Wexner's charities all over the place, to pro-Israel causes. And so, you could tell yourself, I'm going to this dinner because I'm raising funds for this medical institution that I'm involved with, and you would actually then raise that money. And so I think a lot of people would kind of justify it to themselves that way. And also what I think gets obscured in public, people think all Jeffrey Epstein was the perversion and the pedophilia, but he was doing a lot else. He was moving a lot of money. He's making a lot of connections. He's doing a lot of tax crimes and money laundering and, shipping diamonds. Like if so, you could spend a lot of time doing all sorts of things with Epstein without getting into the perversion like that. And I think people, because of the way it's talked about, think that if you were with him for 5 minutes, like that entire 5 minutes, involved like satanic ritual.
Well, but also, there's so many documents, and again, like I'm like just an everyday person on this. Like I'm just reading it like everyone else. I'm not digging into this the way you guys are. But I've seen so many cases too, where it's like after it's clear that Epstein is involved in, the targeting, exploitation, abuse of, of minors, the powerful or prominent people who sort of, they know that, they acknowledge it, and they're sort of either advising him or saying, looks like you dodged a bullet with being
Yep.
held accountable for that. Let's talk about this business thing now. Like, that's a striking aspect of this, where these people are just sort of like either giving him advice on how to navigate it, or they're like joining him in sighing relief that he didn't actually get the book thrown at him for doing the thing that they all are aware that he was doing, or that they maybe participated in.
You know, this is a very important point, actually, because in these emails, a very common theme, these powerful people talking to him, is congratulating him on his, you know, his skills with the ladies, quote unquote, or even congratulating him on, you know, various very vulgar ways about his sexual exploits. That's a very common theme. Years after he was known to be a very famous pedophile, they were completely unbothered by it anyway. Extremely powerful, influential people who also claim to have a sense of moral capital in public and use it to justify, in many cases, pushing forward certain policies. And that was a very common theme up to his death, pretty much, that they were completely unbothered by it. And, you know, to make one quick point, I think Ryan's made this point before as well, too, that Epstein was a product of this Davos set. He was the preeminent neoliberal global figure. He was the connector of the Clinton Foundation, the Gates Foundation, all these reputable institutions and governments and so forth. And, you know, when you look at the agenda for Davos, for instance, it's always very nice stuff, like, you know, fighting climate change, fighting global hunger. You know, it sounds great. And they take this kind of moral position to justify the collective population of the countries, investing them with this authority and power. So you assume that if they're going to Davos, they're doing good things, that they should have, you know, the money and power they do and so forth, and someone responsible is in charge. What Epstein was really involved in was, you know, in many cases, facilitating the criminal personal activities of those people, very depraved, immoral activities. So, you know, it kind of takes the veil away from all those people in a way, because if we actually know at Davos that maybe Jeffrey Epstein or the UNGA, Jeffrey Epstein was arranging sex trafficking and sex parties for all these dignitaries and diplomats and so forth, which seems like it was, then why are we actually investing these people in this power? And what is actually the you know, moral thing they're claiming to uphold? The whole sort of PR sort of evaporates, which I think is why Epstein also was very important, because he was a singular figure which reveals the moral depravity in the current post-1990s, post-Cold War global elite. There are a lot of things people were saying, the things we thought were conspiracies or were deemed demeaned as such, turned out to be very true. And they may be even more true than people had sold them as.